Facts Hunter.
This is the story of a YouTuber who made lying part of his existence. A manipulated conman who, despite being born into wealth and privilege, failed to build a prosperous career and instead became a Russian shill during one of the most destructive conflicts in Europe since the Second World War. Chapter 1: Before the Red Pill. Gonzalo Lira was born in 1968 in Burbank, California. He was the firstborn to Gonzalo Lira Valdez, a high-end executive with a background in law and economics. During a stream, Lira claimed he was the son of a banker, but this data is hard to verify.
I think that the budget was incredibly irresponsible. It was an incredibly irresponsible budget. You never should have signed it. You know, apart from the political
responsible budget.
What?
I've not seen a responsible budget come out of the long fucking time.
That's very true.
James said the same thing. Oh, you know, fiscal irresponsibility, blah blah. But you actually bring in more tax revenue when you cut the tax rates. This is basic a priori economics.
No, it goes in the opposite direction after a while.
No.
Yes, it does.
This was not.
No, sorry, buddy.
No.
You're talking to a banker's son here, okay? It
well.
goes in the opposite direction.
Well, you said you're the banker's son. I don't know what I was supposed
I wanted
to take that
to
as.
emphasize the
I
fact
don't
that
know,
I
I didn't
actually
expect
know
you to
about
son
this
of a
shit
banker,
since
man.
I was like a kid.
Boy, hey, I'm the banker's son, and I know what I'm talking about, do I? I mean, look, that's how it sounded to me. Maybe you didn't read it like that.
Gonzalo's mother, Maria Isabel Lopez Hess/Richke, quick note. In some interviews, the last name of both Gonzalo and his mother changes to Richke. I'm not sure why this is, but it could be the cause of a second marriage from the side of his mother. It is mentioned in an interview that his family was made out of lawyers and economists, and as a family, they seemed to travel a lot. His family was very well off. It is mentioned in a video by the YouTube channel The Hill that Gonzalo Lira is a direct descendant of José Miguel Carrera, considered to be the first president of the independent nation of Chile.
So who is Gonzalo Lira and why is he controversial? Well, Gonzalo Lira is an American-born and mostly raised in the United States to Chilean parents. He is a direct descendant of José Miguel Carrera, the first president of Chile. He's a YouTuber who made his name in what is dubbed the manosphere, which is basically an opposition to the feminist movement. And listen, Gonzalo Lira is not somebody that I agree with on much, I have to say. Like his views on the manosphere stuff and women, I find pretty piggish, quite frankly. Also, he has some really controversial views when it comes to the Chilean government. He is, like I mentioned, a descendant of the Carrera family. That family is very prominent in Chile. Now the descendants are in the hundreds, and they pretty much run Chile. I mean, they're the aristocrats. So his viewpoints, they're not exactly what I mean. I don't agree with many of his.
His family is very influential, and there is a chance this might be related to the family lineage, which is said they pretty much run Chile, as they are well established throughout all major industries. So to put it plain and simple, Gonzalo Lira was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. This is also important to mention as it explains why this guy seems to be well educated. It is not because the guy is naturally clever or gifted, but because, as every high-class family, his parents pressed him to have a good education regardless if Gonzalo liked studying or not, which he doesn't. He's a lazy student, as I will be pointing out throughout this series of videos.
And so I'm here to tell you, you have to understand what is the point of school. It is only by understanding the objective of school that you will be able to handle school. And what is the objective of school, you might ask? Well, it's not to fucking give you an education, that's for fucking sure. You're not supposed to get an education at school. The objective of school is to get the accreditation. All of school elementary school, high school, college, grad school. It's all an accreditation game. That is the objective of school. Once you understand this concept, then college, high school, any educational establishment becomes easy. Because you see, the idea is not to learn. The idea is to give back to the teacher that which he wants to see so that you get the highest grade. You don't have to learn anything. You just have to give them what they want. And like I said, it's such a simple thing. Education comes from experience. Education comes from learning on your own when you're truly interested. But it's not going to come from any kind of educational establishment.
It is not fully clear, but for what we know, Gonzalo spent the first 6 years of his life growing up in California's San Fernando Valley. New York and Miami are also mentioned. Whether he traveled or moved often these first 6 years of his life is uncertain, but we do know that at age 6, his family moved back to Chile, where he spent the rest of his childhood and teen years until he moved back to America at age 22. Lira had a rough time growing up during his first years in Chile. His American accent had kids calling him Little Gringo. Gringo, for those who don't know, is a slang word used in Latin America, best translated as in someone from North America. Not a derogatory name per se, but he was definitely different from other kids. Later on his teen years, he will also be picked on for being inadequate and for carrying himself as a pompous know-it-all.
I was bullied in school a few times, especially in middle school, like around, 5th, 6th, 7th grade. Yeah, I got bullied a lot. I got bullied a lot for various reasons, partly flaws in my own character. When I was 13, 14, I was very isolated, almost ostracized as a matter of fact, because I was weird. I was very smart. I was smarter than most of the kids in my class. And, I'd gotten into reading in a big way. And I was reading stuff that was way beyond my age group, right? Partly because I was always a new kid, because my old man was this banker and we moved around a lot because of his work. And because of this, I was always like the new kid. I mean, there were a few years there between the 4th grade and 7th, 8th grade, where I went to, half a dozen different schools.
As a pompous know-it-all that will end up making a fool of himself more often than not. To such a degree, people will call him Tonto de Ganso, vaguely translated into foolish goose. This nickname stuck to him for more than one reason. First, because his name, Gonzalo, is often shortened by people to a more practical nickname, Gonzo, a word very similar to the Spanish word for goose, which is ganso, gonzo, ganso. And second, in my opinion, because of the pompous way he carried himself, making him look physically like a goose. Quick note, even today, whenever he's talking, the guy waves his hands as if he was flapping his wings every time he talks. Except today, he looks more like Danny DeVito's penguin instead of a goose. No offense to Danny DeVito. In later interviews, Lira will tell the story of how he first discovered his passion for storytelling when he was in 3rd grade. He remembers the time at school his teacher gave him the assignment of writing the memories of his latest summer vacation. Because he thought his recent vacations were boring on his own opinion, he opted to make up a story and ended up writing a fictional tale of a vacation trip that never actually happened. This assignment earned him a grade of 7 out of 10, which was pleasant to him. He continued making up stories, and years later, he sold his first story when he made a small business out of selling homework assignments to other students. Lira discovered the power of storytelling, a skill that will become profitable throughout his entire life. However, according to him, this was the moment when he decided he wanted to be a professional writer. Later in life, when he needed to choose a career, he claims he told his parents about his passion for writing, but his parents didn't saw writing as a profitable field. Side note, in later interviews, his mother would contradict this statement when she came out on the record claiming she didn't know her son had ambitions of becoming a writer, as she only found out when and after Lira wrote his first novel at age 19. After graduating from St. George College, one of the most prestigious private schools in Chile, Gonzalo's parents pressured him into attending college in pursuit of a profitable career like medicine or law. Gonzalo opted for a career in commercial engineering. Hearing this, his parents sent him to Adolfo Ibáñez, one of the top schools in Chile, where Gonzalo only lasted one semester, claiming it wasn't for him. Later, he tried again at University of Chile, where he was kicked out a year later due to low grades. In other words, it wasn't for him either. Years later, Gonzalo told in an interview that he failed engineering school because he was lazy and he spent all day playing pool. Yeah, sitting down to read complex textbooks about engineering tends to be hard on the brain, which might result in a side effect called laziness. Yeah, very understandable.
I was very smart. I was smarter than most of the kids in my class. And you don't have to learn anything. You just have to give them what they want.
It was during this time, the late 1980s, when Lira, a college flunky, got a job teaching English at Instituto San Marcelli. This gave him the time to write his first novel, Tomás Errázuriz, a semi-biographical tale of a cuico, a Chilean term for rich, snobbish kid, who got kicked out of school and spent an entire day meandering around Santiago de Chile because of his hesitation of returning home and face his parents along with the consequences of his shortcomings. Lira wrote the novel with the intention of making it into the Chilean version of Catcher in the Rye and Huckleberry Finn. Lira even wrote the novel with an experimental dialogue, attempting to make conversations sound similar to the local Chilean dialect, where the H is used at the end of every word, mimicking the Chilean way people talk on the streets, making the H as a silent period. This is why the title name is written as Tomás instead of Tomás, the standard Spanish pronunciation. Gonzalo tried getting his novel published, but was turned away by every local publisher, who instantly recognized Lira's lack of writing skills, as the book was full of orthographic errors. The publishing houses pointed out the reasons for rejecting the novel. They claimed the experimental writing was too distracting and the main character, Lira's effigy, was unlikable and highly opinionated, criticizing local Chilean lifestyles from a solitary, egocentric point of view. Ironically, the novel gives a glance at Lira's own disconnection from his environment. He was unable to connect with his Chilean roots because of his family's high society wealth. He is unable to connect with the average reader, who is part of the large portion of the Chilean population, which is mostly made of the middle and lower class. And he's unable to connect with the upper class too, because he was born and partially raised in America, constantly traveling to other places like New York, Miami, Guayaquil, and Ecuador. After Lira's novel was rejected from every Chilean publishing house, he made up his mind and decided to move back to America, where he attended Dartmouth College in New Hampshire, an Ivy League school with an average tuition cost of $32,000 per semester after financial aid, which I don't believe Lira qualifies for, as Gonzalo hasn't been living in America since he was 6 years and his family was well off. Dartmouth also has an acceptance rate of only 6%, which is another indication of how wealthy and well-connected the Lira family was. Apparently, Dartmouth College is the perfect place for a young man who couldn't cut it as an engineering student because he was lazy and played pool all day instead of grabbing the books and studying hard. Yep, go figure. So, in 1991, Gonzalo Lira left Chile, heading to Hanover, New Hampshire. He left as a failure. He didn't have that many friends, was kicked out of engineering school due to low grades, and his novel was rejected by every publishing house in Chile. Students from the engineering school he attended at St. George College couldn't remember much about him, other than he was very timid and an introvert. A former classmate of Lira, priest Felipe Morel, claims he knew Lira, but he wasn't a close friend of his, and that he never knew Lira had any interest in writing. However, 6 years later, Gonzalo Lira will return to Chile as an accomplished writer. And not just any writer, he will become the most famous Chilean writer, who became known as the Chilean writer of the $1 million.
Hello everyone, this is a Facts Hunter. Thank you for staying till the end of the video. Chapter 1 took me 2 weeks to finish. Chapter 2 is a little longer than Chapter 1, so it should take me at least 3 weeks to get it done. But boy, I'm eager to start working on it because there's so much to talk about. With Gonzalo's return to Chile, his time living in Los Angeles, and his time at Dartmouth. However, I will be posting weekly videos to please the almighty YouTube algorithm. Next week, I'll be posting a housekeeping video addressing stuff from the prologue and Chapter 1. And the following week, I'll be posting a sneak peek to Chapter 2. Believe me, the story of Gonzalo Lira is far from over. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and click the notification bell so you won't miss the videos as they come out. And like and share to help the channel grow. Thanks again for watching. This is a Facts Hunter. Bye for now and take care.